The Oklahoma City Thunder select Chet Holmgren from Gonzaga University.
What a pass. Giddy underneath for JRE. The reverse and the rookie-to-rookie action. SGA defended closely by Westbrook. Tough. Step back. Gets up the shot. Banks it in for the lead.
This is Udart. You're listening to the Uncontested.
What is up, and welcome to the Uncontested podcast. We're coming to you live Sunday, August 7th, brought to you by the Blue Wire Podcast Network and dailythunder.com. We got some cool stuff planned with Daily Thunder coming up soon, so keep your eyes peeled out for that. I'm your host, Jacob Niffen. We've got Taylor Peterson with me.
Just missing sports being on during the weekends, ready for the NFL, ready for college football, and most of all, the NBA to come back.
We've got Nick Crane.
Ready for Jerry Jones to get out of town. Speaking of football.
We've got Comey, our Moravian.
I'm just happy to be here.
No Justin or JD tonight. They are out. I think JD's doing family stuff. Justin has a baby.
He's probably training to poop in the pool.
Pools.
Yeah,
probably.
Just like the other ones.
We before we get started tonight, want to plug again. We have new Uncontested hats. They are awesome. I absolutely love them. They will not be available where you buy your Uncontested shirts at. These are special pre-order only, and we are ordering hats at the end of this week. So if you want an Uncontested hat, which they look awesome, they got that big U on the front, Uncontested, Thunder U, a little bit of a crossover here. If you want one of these hats, you have to pre-order this week. Taylor has just dropped the Google form in the YouTube chat if you're watching us live. If you are not watching us live and you're listening to the podcast form of this, you can check out our Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Even you can find our post on Reddit to get the Google form link to pre-order these hats. We take Apple Pay, Cash App, Venmo, PayPal. So order your shirt. You guys are idiots.
If I keep going this way, will I pop up on Jacob's screen?
So order your Uncontested hats. We are super excited to get these out into the world.
Now we really look like idiots for those listening.
Reminds me of that Rick and Morty episode where there's Michael Thompson and something else, and they're like the guys that have different shows, but they're actually connected.
Yeah, I have zero idea what you're talking about.
Screen to screen.
I'm not a Rick and Morty guy. All right, gentlemen, there is like no NBA stuff going on at all right now. Lots of NBA pods are just recycling content, trying to find whatever they can find to talk about. A lot of people are just talking about the same stuff. Don't really want to do that. We try to keep stuff as original as possible here on the Uncontested. So I came up with a plan tonight to do a different style podcast. We're going to see how this goes to keep the content fresh. Here's how this is going to work. It's the headline game. So earlier today, JD and I came up with like 15 different news article headlines, things you might find on Bleacher Report, ESPN, Daily Thunder, SI Thunder, all these different websites. And we just made up some headlines that maybe not, will come across during next season. I'm going to read you guys a headline, and then you have to give the listeners context to that headline. So how did this come to be? What happened? How is the season going if this thing became a headline, et cetera, et cetera? Does that make sense?
Got it.
These are specifically designed for you guys to go down the rabbit hole, to really hypothesize, just to have a blast with. So let's get this fired up. The first headline, gentlemen, I have a whole bunch here. I'm just going to pick all around the place. The first headline is OKC Thunder get 2 players on the All-NBA rookie team.
It's an interesting one. I mean, I think pending injury, we all can probably say that Chet's going to be a lock. And if not, going on down the hypothetical route, like something went terribly wrong this season, but based off how he's looked very, very early, I would assume that Chet will be on one of those two teams.
Yeah, I think J-Dub in that situation has to either pop early or someone ahead of him in the starting lineup got hurt. We've talked about it a lot. Like he could really, any of the 5 starters could get hurt and they could reconfigure the lineup to where J-Dub could be the temporary starter, whether that's playing small ball 4 or on the wing or as a 2 guard, whatever it might be. So if this headline were to happen, I would almost think there was some sort of major injury, whether it be Dort, Shea, or Lou, likely. Obviously couldn't be Chet, because if Chet got injured, there couldn't be 2 guys.
Dort, Shea, or Lou?
Giddy.
I tease.
Lou, Giddy, and Josh Dort. But I do think there would have to be some sort of injury to one of those 3 starting guards for this headline to be valid.
Interesting.
How many people are on the how many are all on the all rookie team?
There's 2 teams, and they do not delineate based off of
Position.
It's just 5 guys on the first team, 5 guys on the second team.
Yeah, Chet seems like a guy that obviously would make it, right? I mean, just by how much playing time he's going to get, how many looks he's going to get, and how successful I think he'll be, especially while playing with guys like Josh and Shea. The other one would be, all right, did Sam Presti really knock it out of the park here with number 12? When we talk about a J-Dub, like, is he actually knocking it out of the park here? Or is the class around them actually a lot better than was kind of advertised? Because you had guys that had a lot of upside, but then you also had players that people were like, but that, man, they have some really mega downsides and they could fly anywhere from, 6 to 14. And so it's like, okay, what is Presti's doing here? And also that, as far as getting J-Dub in, because I think we would all agree he would be the second one in, right?
Yep.
What are they doing off the bench? Who's initiating offense? How are they playing J-Dub with a Trey Man? And that's what I would say is the kind of the context behind that.
I agree. I think you're spot on there, Kamiar. Like the other thing too, to Nick's point, if it's not an injury, or even if it is, like one thing that we're talking a lot about this season is maybe more than ever, it kind of feels like we're coming to a point where, after this season, we keep talking about the 2023 year where the Thunder are officially going to, push that button, to use Sam Presti's analogy. And it feels like this season, no, they aren't. We don't necessarily think they're going to like hard on. I should probably use different phrasing there. That they are going to just like go all in on the tank like they had the previous 2 seasons. Pause. I'm a child.
Uncontested after dark, baby.
That's right. But
on the Lord's Day, Taylor.
On a
We're
Sunday.
recording on a Sunday.
But even then, like I think because of that, even if we don't see them quote unquote push that button and go and trade for players or whatever it may be, like there's going to be a lot of roster development and exploration is going to occur this season where we're going to, guys like Poku are going to be, it's kind of a prove it season for him. Baisley in a similar situation. So because of that, I just don't know if J-Dub's even going to get the opportunity to put up the stats and even get the minutes that an all NBA or an all rookie would get, if that makes sense.
Or making it fun, Ousmane Dieng makes the NBA the G League all rookie team.
Oh, there you go.
And somebody has a clickbait headline that says 2 players. And that could be another alternate reality.
Boom.
That's fun. Well, okay, let's move on to headline number 2 then, Nick. That's a great segue. Headline number 2, Ousmane Dieng shines in 5th straight Thunder start.
That headline releases March 29th, 2023. And that is a real thing.
I was like, who's hurt or
tank.
is this at the very end of the season?
Exactly.
Those were my 2 questions.
Exactly.
I think there's a real chance he does start 5 straight games this year. Like I really do. It's going to be late probably, but I I think everybody on this roster that's on the 15-man roster, and Jacob, I don't know if you can pull up the stats on this on the side. I think every player on the 15-man roster will start at least 5 games, and I have a feeling everybody on the 15-man last year probably did too. I mean, even guys that weren't on the 15-man that were like on 10 days and stuff started multiple games. So at some point, Jang, it may not be 5 straight, but he will start 5 games this year. There's almost no doubt in my mind.
I like that. And like to my earlier point, just so people don't think I'm contradicting myself, like I don't think come March 29th or whatever date you threw out there, Nick, that like Josh Giddey sitting, Shea sitting, Lou sitting, and we're starting Usman and, Teo if he's still on the team, that kind of thing. But I do think we'll see, to your point, some of those guys rotated into a starting position. I think we saw that like 2 years ago where Shea was still playing, but we saw like Roby start with them. We saw some of these, I don't think Beat started with them, but still, to my point, I don't think we're going to see them sit a bunch of those guys, but I could totally see them rotating in the Jangs and the J-Dubs in that starting lineup.
Not to get us too off topic with the Jang conversation real fast, but Nick, you said like, can you bring up who started like how many games last year? Fun trivia question real fast. And just for reference, I just looked this up. It's on Basketball Reference. How many human beings played in an OKC Thunder basketball game last year with a Thunder jersey on? Anyone want to take a stab at it?
23.
Gotta be more than that.
Or how many suited up or played?
How many got into a basketball game?
25?
Taylor, you got a number?
I'm staying with 23.
23, 25. Taylor, what's your guess?
Man, that's really hard. For the heck of it, let's go like 27 between G League guys and like two-way guys that they bring in.
He prices righted us.
I did.
26.
So he busted.
Oh, okay, so
we were all
close.
close.
This is why we need
Taylor bust. Nick would get to get on stage with the Price is Right guy.
This is why we need JD on the pod, because we're missing the Lord have mercy, I'm about to bust.
We don't need sounders when you're doing it.
Yeah,
And then
that's
with
true.
With the Usman talk that you brought up, we talked about it on a pod prior, this or that. What was the exact question about like Poku or Jang plays more minutes with OKC this coming season? It's like kind of like one of those things.
Very similar.
There was 10 guys that started 3 or less games for the Thunder last year.
Good grief.
10 guys.
The Tank Commanders.
I didn't even realize Paul Watson played 9 games last year.
Hell yeah,
I did either.
Jalen Horde, if you go back, like if you do fantasy basketball, if you go back and you're going to like do a draft and you sorted the draft by like last year's stats, fantasy points per minute, Jalen Horde looks like a young rising star.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's stupid.
That just goes to show you people box score watch. Hey, Moses Brown, looking at you. There's a lot more to it.
Why did the Thunder wave Isaiah Roby?
There's a lot more to it than the box score.
Yep. Just to prove that time is a completely flat circle, I just mentioned Paul Watson played for the Thunder last year. 9 games played, 3 games started. Gary Deck played 7 games last season.
Yeah.
How is that even possible?
That
Feels
is
like he hasn't been on the
crazy.
team for 2 years.
That's a lot of turtles.
That does not feel
wild.
like the same season.
You guys have any more thoughts on the headline Usman Jang shines and 5th straight Thunder start? Besides, you guys are all saying it's because they're tanking.
My only thought is actually a question. If he's shining through these 5 games, what's his stat line to be considered shining?
Yeah, he's like that tall playmaker. Shot isn't really there yet, but he likes to shoot the 3 off a step back. It's like, what is shining? What could you say? Like, I mean, it wouldn't be 20 points. It would be like,
That'd be a lot.
it would be filling the stat sheet, right? It would feel like Josh Giddey numbers. I feel like, but
That's exactly what I was thinking.
like 13, 7, and 4, right? That would be really nice.
That'd
for
be
him
shining. That
because
would be absolutely shining.
because
for
you know
Usman.
he's getting all his points at the rim. You know he's getting rebounds and he likes to play make and get assists. That's the kind of guy he is. So that's what I would say would be shining, maybe. Like, what do you guys think?
I agree completely. Before you said that, I was thinking 14, 8 assists, and like
Yeah,
2 rebounds. But you bring it up a good point. Like, I might be undervaluing his rebound to an extent. But if he's putting up those kind of stats, like I think we're pretty excited about what he's doing.
Yep.
And I think that also means that he's like taking on a little more primary ball handler duties, even though we know the Thunder play positionless. So that'd be exciting as well.
If Usman has 40 assists through 5 games, we're not talking about shining. The headline's going to be, holy shit, the Thunder got a steal.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I was thinking
level.
like if you
Also-
put that up in a single game. Are we
Preston,
talking
he's
like
a genius
averages?
by buying that pick.
Also, shining is a very subjective term, and it depends on who wrote this article,
Yeah,
right? So,
good point.
all right, let's go to another one. I have a lot of fun headlines here. Let's just rip the Band-Aid off and go with this one. This may be my favorite one. This is the first one I came up with. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander joins Russell Westbrook and Chris Paul as only all NBA guards in Thunder history.
Ballsack Sports. Fake Woj, like come on. That would be
Give us the context. If this was an actual headline on ESPN.com, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander joins Russ and CP3 as only all NBA guards in Thunder history.
The context is he got traded to a contender where he made the All NBA team but spent part of the season with OKC, and therefore
Oklahoma City.
It's the dark timeline, Taylor.
If this was a headline, the deck, like basically the intro to the story once you click on the headline, is SGA has led the Thunder to a top 5 seed in the West. That is the only way.
Yeah, I was thinking of he had a hell of a season, first of all. Secondly, obviously you would have to make the all NBA team. Secondly, I would say they probably got a lot more televised games that year.
yeah, that's a great point also. So this is literally the only one that I actually like pulled up stuff for like a small exercise here. I don't want to go through all 3 all NBA teams just because we have a lot of fun ones I do want to get to, but could we all agree quickly that if he were to make an all NBA team next season, it probably would be 3rd team? Do we probably agree there? Okay.
Not a problem.
So let's go through the 5 all NBA 3rd team from last season.
All NBA is based on position, yes?
Yes, center,
Is it
forward,
two-
2 forwards, 2 guards, and a center.
They
which
do.
is
They still
dumb.
do center. I thought they got rid of center and they just did front court, back court. Is that also
No,
the
they
same?
still have center. That's why Embiid was
So
second
dumb.
MVP, but also second team.
So dumb.
Gotcha.
Yep, that's exactly, yeah.
Okay.
So first one here is the center for the 3rd team, and it's Cat. If we look at the win total for the Timberwolves, they were 46 and 36. Next one is LeBron in LA. Not much, actually worse. 33 and 49. Okay, but that's LeBron, I guess. Chris Paul, we know Phoenix
They
was
won
good.
like 60
They won a
games.
lot. Trey, this one's a little more interesting. Trey Young with the Hawks. They were 43 wins, so very similar there to Cat and the Wolves. Last one is Pascal Siakam, another interesting one with Raptors, 48 wins. They had a pretty good. All that to say, like with the exception of LeBron, the Thunder would have to win a lot
winning
more
record.
games.
Yeah,
And
they have to
yeah.
have a winning record. Be over 500.
For Shai to get that All NBA team. But maybe just like a question to you all. I'm weirdly starting to feel more and more confident that Shai could potentially get an All-Star nod this season. I mean, could he still do that and not really be close to getting All NBA? Is that
Yeah.
a thing that could happen?
Yeah.
Yeah, because you're talking top 24, top 30 players versus top 15.
True.
I definitely think All-Star is in the cards this year.
100%. But again, winning is going to be a thing.
Mm-hmm.
But hey, all you said here was future OKC headlines. You didn't say it had to be this upcoming season.
Oh, well, that's a good point. Taylor's
Oh,
thinking
well.
outside the box.
Yeah.
I mean,
This could be 2026.
Taylor woke AF.
people put up such a fuss about Russ winning the MVP because of the win numbers OKC had.
Yeah. Well,
That was
let's
like the biggest argument against it.
Uh-huh.
with Taylor's logic, do we all agree, or maybe I should frame it differently, because I think this is the case. Do you guys think SGA will finish his career with at least one All-NBA selection?
Yes.
Yes.
I do too.
Yeah. Sounds good.
At least one.
Like he hasn't the man's like 3-4 years away from his prime.
I would argue that he probably should have already, if not probably should have. If he played for a play-in level team the past 2 years, he would already have 1, maybe 2 All-Stars.
Oh yeah, I agree
Two
with
years
that.
ago for sure.
Like, let's
I
just
mean,
say
2
that
years ago, the numbers were ridiculous. So I think if he was playing on a San Antonio Spurs level team from the past couple of years, he probably already has a couple All-Stars under his belt.
if the Thunder kept Chris Paul in that squad and ran it
Mhm.
back, kind of retooled to use a popular modern term, yeah, I agree. I think he's made at least one.
Okay. Next headline. These are so much
You know
fun.
they're
What
good
was
when,
what
when
was that
Jacob starts
reaction?
giggling.
He
Say it
like
again?
He got
he like
giddy.
took a breath and then he was like, and then kind of just
I
like
love these
smiled at the
headlines.
camera.
I'm so proud of myself.
Weirded me
Someone should
out.
hire me as a headline writer. No Mr. Unreliables over here. Just straight heat every day. Next one. Clutch, Klutch. Clutch City. Darius Baisley scores 9 points off the bench in his LA Lakers debut.
That box score sounds about right. I'll start there. Good grief.
It would be the ultimate clutch team.
It would be, and it wouldn't shock me if he was on the Lakers next year or after free agency. Let's hypothetically say this is a real headline, meaning he got traded to the Lakers this year.
Yep.
Does that mean Oklahoma City has one of those two future firsts? Do they have Taylor Horton Tucker? Who do they have? So if this headline is real and you scroll through and you see this, what did Oklahoma City get in return from the Lakers?
See,
2
that
I was
seconds.
thinking about this.
That was my exact response. I was
They got
like,
2 seconds in an open roster spot.
I was like, how many second rounders did OKC just get? That was the first thing that ran
Yep.
through my head.
The
Like,
roster spot.
I mean,
is the
like,
asset.
like
That's a good
that's
point.
kind of like, is that not his value right now?
That's about what was the return for Hamidou Diallo? Svi Mihailuk in a second?
Yep.
I'm just saying.
Yep.
Felt like Hami was a bit more productive that last year.
It depends
Close.
on it just really depends on which base you're looking at. Are you looking at what we've seen this in his entire career, or are you really looking at, hey, maybe did he turn a corner in the second half of the year, and then you're abatedly waiting this upcoming season to see, is he really owning that role, and is he really settling into that role? Because I think that will heighten his value, but I still don't think it goes past the second rounder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the age is a factor there too, right? He's still incredibly young, like we talked about. But even then, I'm with you both.
I mean, Bays might start a lot of games in LA with AD with the sore pinky toe on the sideline in a dress suit.
And LeBron on his 4th straight game of rest.
They can still throw lobs to him at least, so there's that.
I saw someone nicknamed him Anthony Day to Davis. I thought that was pretty good.
That's a good
The
one.
internet is
awesome.
undefeated.
You guys have any more thoughts on this headline? This one was a little more straightforward, I feel like.
What's his? Assuming he's traded to the Lakers and they want to keep him longer term, what's his contract with Clutch and the Lakers?
Oh, Clutch will get him
That's a
paid.
good point.
What's paid?
$440.
I was thinking 330, so 10 mil over
10
a
a
year.
year.
For a 21. I mean, look,
That's not too rich.
nothing against Taylor Horton Tucker. I think he's a decent player. But Lakers fans think he is like prime Jordan, like mixed with AI. Like, it's ridiculous. And look what contract he got. And really, like, what has Taylor Horton Tucker really like accomplished in the league?
I'm with you.
Clutch will get him paid. That's
He
what
looks really
Clutch
good. He
does.
looks really, really, really good in preseason and summer league.
Mm-hmm. That's about it. Next headline. OKC Thunder trades picks and players at deadline to capitalize on successful season.
Ooh.
So this goes hand in hand with Shea LNBA. If this is happening, I think the Thunder are firmly in the race for the playoffs. Shea is already an all-star. All-star breaks before the deadline or after?
It's before.
before.
So I was thinking that too.
Shea
How
is
many
an
games are
all-star as
played?
this is happening.
They have a winning record.
Have a winning
To your
record.
point.
Like they took
They're-
that Memphis Grizzlies step. Yeah.
Yeah,
I like that.
they're trading. What was the headline, Jacob? Young player and picks.
And picks.
Thunder trade players and picks
So I think the
So-
last thing that would have to happen there
at
is
deadline
a star player becomes available, right?
to
You-
capitalize on successful season.
This is why I am very, very for keeping around Derek Favors and saying goodbye to Teo and Veet and all these other guys. Because if you don't think they're going to be contributors in 5 years, sorry. Favors is probably the only guy that has a contract outside of Dort that can get a deal like this done. So he gives you flexibility. So I think this would be, if you opened up the story, it would be Dort, Favors, Trey Mann, and 3 picks for this player.
Who's this player?
This player is OG Anunoby.
Oh,
Yeah,
Mm.
that seems
That's a
trying
lot
to
for
decide
OG.
That's rich.
That's a lot for
Yeah,
OG.
or-
I was about to. I was like, that's
you
a little
gave,
rich.
you,
That's
you-
a
you
little
gave me the
rich.
hypothetical and then made me give a player.
what
So
if
then,
it's
like-
another? What if it's another Toronto guy?
Pascal?
What if it's Pascal?
I wouldn't. I give up more for OG than Pascal.
How many
Interesting.
picks do you think Boston wants for Jaylen Brown?
Oh,
I
that
don't-
package I would get from Jalen in a heartbeat, but they're not taking it.
But like, how many picks do you think Boston, after seeing, because OKC, what they did with Paul George, that was like, that created the new denominator of what star players are getting traded for, or what players in general are getting
Yep.
traded for around the league as far as pick compensation and stuff like that. And so now you see like more outrageous numbers of picks going out there for
Yeah.
players that I don't think necessarily deserve it. And so, like, what would a Jaylen Brown in your mind,
Ooh.
especially with what they're doing in Boston, their front office, and how they view Jaylen Brown, how just the league views Jaylen Brown? What is his value? How many first round picks and what players do you think it would realistically take to get him?
I've got a hot take.
I have. Sorry, Nick. Do you mind if I take this real fast?
Go ahead.
If I am the Boston front office, I would only trade Jaylen Brown in a package to get somebody that is significantly better than Jaylen Brown.
Agreed.
That's why the KD talk back in the day, the Kawhi talk. I'm not trading Jaylen Brown for every single Thunder pick that they own.
No.
I'm only
that's
trading
What?
him for a player that's way better than him.
I'm
like
just
a
I'm
Kevin
just
Durant.
strictly asking
Agreed,
what is
but-
his value?
If you're able to trade Jaylen Brown for that package and then flip those assets for Kevin Durant,
Oh, it's like a 3-teamer.
So
we're
is
expanding.
this a hot take? I've floated it to people and they've told me I'm crazy, but I don't think it's that crazy.
Float it over here. We'll see.
I would rather have. I don't care what team you are. This is not just like one of those hypothetical like team A, team B. I would rather have Jaylen Brown than Donovan Mitchell, and it's not close.
Same.
No, I'm with you.
Same.
People were telling me I'm crazy. I'm like,
Really?
if Donovan's getting you 7 or 8 firsts and young prospects, Jalen's getting you more, and they told me I was crazy.
No.
If Donovan Mitchell was like 5 inches taller, I would say you're crazy. But just by the
He's
sheer
6'2".
yeah, just, just by the sheer ability of Jaylen Brown, the guy is cerebral, is very intelligent, how defensive minded he is and how physical he is, and just like the amount of shooting he has is just what I thought he was going to be. I thought it was going to be a bust. And then when he turned out to be something really special next to Jason Tatum and could be really something special, I think, just by himself somewhere in the market. Yeah, I'd take Jaylen Brown. I've been
I
a huge
agree.
Jaylen, and you guys can all attest this. I've been a huge Jaylen Brown stan
Yeah.
for a long time.
I think we all are. Honestly, I love the guy. Danny in the chat says Thunder trade Favors, Baisley, Wiggins, 2 seconds, 2 firsts. That's a rich package for Miles Turner.
So two-part answer. I think Miles Turner would be a fantastic fit next to Chet. They would be the
I do
most
too.
dynamic defensive front court, and they can also both space the floor. But Miles Turner is about to be an unrestricted free agent. You do not give up that much for 6 months of him.
That's a good
Agreed.
point. If he was on a longer contract, I don't hate that.
He's on a
particularly if
great,
it's
he's
not
on a
your best
great,
second round
great,
or first round
great
picks.
year by year contract. Like what he's getting paid is, I think, is well worth what he produces. But I don't think you trade that kind of capital for a guy that could walk in the summer.
He's only 26, so that makes him like that would make him like the second oldest Thunder player.
He'd be awesome in Oklahoma City.
I'm gonna throw one out. Going back to our headline again: Thunder trade picks and players to capitalize on successful season. The package that Nick mentioned for OG.
That wasn't a package for OG, just to be clear. That was a package for a hypothetical player, and then you wound me back.
Yeah,
to
you
saying
flustered
OG.
Nick. How dare you?
Let's put the
You gave him a
context
pop
here.
quiz straight on the spot. Not fair.
That same trade package to Brooklyn for Ben Simmons. Your
Holy
front court
grief.
is Ben and Chet.
So, is this you saying you would prefer to have Ben than OG?
No, I'm just throwing something out there to see what you guys think.
I'm just trying to put words in your mouth now. I'm just kidding.
Also, it solves if actually take one of the firsts off the table because this solves Brooklyn's problem of we can't take a guy who's on a rookie scale max extension because we already have Ben because that's the stupidest rule.
So they can trade for Bam then, huh?
So they could trade for a Bam or whoever.
They can
I'm
move off KD.
wondering
That's
immediately who OKC is trading Ben Simmons for then, because then you have Josh Giddey and then you have great value, bigger Josh Giddey. And like, I'm not.
You got
I'm not
Chip
really
England, baby. The shot doctor is on a house call.
No.
Well, there is a part of me who had that. That was my initial thought, Kamiar, is like, you have Oos, you have Giddey, obviously Shea. It feels like another ball handler, right? Even though, Ben can do a little bit of everything. But at the same time, we're seeing what Presti's doing, going all in this direction. He's saying, no, it doesn't matter if these guys are primary ball. Like, they can do everything. Ben does fit that mold. So I don't know if he would give up that much to Nick's original hypothetical trade package for Simmons, but
he's about to enter his prime. He's 26.
Yeah, he fits what Presti wants to do.
We have no clue what Ben Simmons looks like or if he'll ever play the game of basketball again, frankly. Like, who knows? But if there was a guarantee or you somehow knew he was for sure going to play, or he came in for a workout, or he played the first 10 games of the year in Brooklyn and you're like, okay, this guy's back. This dude was an all-star like 3 years in a row before this whole debacle.
It was the playoffs.
Spectacular defender. He is
arguably defensive player of the year.
A spectacular passer. He just gets trolled on Twitter for a shot and had a very underwhelming playoff performance. Like, put all that aside, if you know he's playing and he's back to what he was before all this, you trade a lot for Ben Simmons. If you're ready to push the button, that is. If you're ready to push the button. I don't think they are, but if they were.
I start to wonder how much spacing you would have on the floor.
No, that's fair.
That's a really good point.
Also, if you got a hell of a defensive lineup that you can
the wingspan is stupid already. We talk about how it's positionless basketball. You could play Ben at the 5.
Yes, next to Chet.
That's wild.
Yes, put him in the JRE role this year. Like,
that's fun.
Dude, be nice. Be very nice.
Yeah, you put those two guys in the front court.
Or shit, Sam plays chess and he says, I know Ben Simmons is not playing this year. We're going to trade for him. He's going to sit on the bench and we're going to tank it out.
Tank.
There you go.
Last question on this headline. The end of it says, to capitalize on successful season. I want you guys each to tell me from 1 through 15 in the Western Conference standings, where do the Thunder have to be entering the February trade deadline, like entering the month of February? Which position do they have to be in for Sam Presti to say, I'm ready to press the button? Like, this is exceeding expectations. We should push in instead of tanking one more year.
I think like my personal belief would differ than Sam's. Like, I think for me, I may be willing to do it as low as like seed 7, but I think for Presti, you'd have to be top 5 in the West.
I think there's a big component of the spread. Like, if you're 6, but you're 4 games out of 11, I still don't think 6 does it, right? Like, you can easily fall 4 games.
But if you're 4 games from 2 or 1,
right,
that's a good point.
Or if you're 6 and there's a 9 or 10 game gap between 6 and 10 or 11, it's like
you're not going to do that.
Probably can't tank that far. Teams playing well. The guys are getting this first taste of victory and being good. Like, you don't pull that from them. So for me, it's more of a, what's the game difference between a potential top 7-8 pick and just pushing where you're at? But that probably would be 5 or 6, based on history.
The other aspect of this,
totals. I'm just looking at win totals.
But the other aspect of this too, right? It's like, even if, the Thunder have however many wins, to your point, Kamiar, and to your point, Nick, even if they are like 4 games within first place at like seed 6 in the West heading into All-Star break, Presti's not going to make that trade. He isn't going to call every of the other 29 teams to see which best player is available and then pull the trigger on that said player. He's only going to do so if that player also becomes available at that time, right? So if it is an OG, if it is somebody bigger, and it just so happens to that player is available around this time, then sure. But like I said, he's not just going to trade for somebody just because the team's outperforming.
Has Sam ever made a trade where he didn't have the leverage? Like, even when Paul George said, "I'm out of here, find me a partner," he still found a way to have the leverage in the situation.
And that was Kawhi.
I mean, Presti did. There were some trades early on, I would say, but recently,
almost always has the leverage. He finds the leverage. He appears to be the guy that, oh wow, PG needs out, and then because now they got to go for Russ, and he still comes out on top every time.
I think you could argue that he did not have the leverage to trade with New York for pick 11. I think that's the benefit of having so many assets.
I think he did have the leverage because he knows what those 3 picks are ultimately going to get packaged for.
That's true. It's true. Before we get on to our next headline, let's take a quick minute to tell the people about our shirts. Don't forget to order an Uncontested hat. Go hit the Google form if you're watching live. It's up in the comments from earlier. If you are listening to the podcast, go check out any of our social media feeds where you can get the Google form for the hats. And we will be back after these quick messages. What's up, Thunder fans? This is Jacob from the Uncontested podcast, and I'm here to let you know that we have fully redesigned our merch store to get you the best Thunder swag available. Just visit cottonbureau.com and search the Uncontested podcast to find all of our new designs. That's cottonbureau.com and search the Uncontested podcast to find new drops like Josh Giddey's Wizard of Oz or an ode to the Trey Man Step Back. We've also got all the classics like Dortal Combat, Wu-Tang Clan, and everyone's favorite MVP, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. The best part? You can get any design and the style of apparel you want. So if you're gearing up for the summer and want a tank top, needing a hoodie for the winter in Australia, or you're wanting a Pokemon onesie for your baby, we've got you covered. Make sure to go to cottonbureau.com and search the Uncontested podcast to get your new Thunder gear today. And we are back. Let's do some more Thunder headlines, guys. This next one, I'm interested to see if you guys take this one positively or negatively. Headline is Alexei Pokusevski notches second triple-double in a row for the Oklahoma City Blue.
So when I was reading this earlier, I laughed out loud because I saw Oklahoma City and then I saw Blue tagged onto it. And I was like, that's really mean. I mean, but we've talked about it several times, and I would say if that's the headline, I mean, good for Bays in that he probably needs to go back to the lab to work on some stuff, but that doesn't look promising for the next year of his career in the NBA or with the OKC Thunder, at least.
If Alexei Pokusevski is playing very many games in the G League this year, it is not good. Like, he is to the point now. If he can't figure it out and be a passable player on the NBA floor, he's beyond going down to the G League, getting some reps and some confidence and the flow. Like beyond that,
Yeah, I
If
agree.
he's-
That's,
if
that's
he's-
where I'm at.
if he's notching triple doubles in the G League, that means Usman Jang's up there balling in the NBA in his spot. Like flat out, he should not be in the G League very much this year.
Like I was thinking, if he's in the G League, what has gone horribly wrong? Like more horribly wrong than last year, where he spent a little stint in the G League and came back with more newfound confidence. But I mean, what has gone wrong within this last year development where he's in the G League once again? That was the first thing that I thought of, Nick. So he shouldn't even be there.
No,
I
and we're
agree.
getting to the point where like Poku as a prospect, the first couple of years in the NBA, it was like send him to the blue, let him do his thing, do his Poku behind the back, behind the head, whatever he wants to do. We're getting to the point where this team is starting to form as a real team, where there's players and roles and positions, and you can kind of start to see where they're going to be in 5 years. We're to the point where Poku probably will never be a primary scorer like we thought maybe he could be. Like that ceiling is starting to lower a bit. At this point, it's like go prove you can play a role and you can play 15 meaningful minutes on an NBA floor. Like we're beyond, maybe he can be a 7-foot point guard that plays. Like it's not happening. He's got to be a role player at this point. I do not see him being a star, and as such, he needs to figure it out in the NBA.
Feels very beyond the whole. He can be Sam Presti's unicorn that they found, yada yada yada, in the same place as Giannis.
He could still be a very, very good role player. Like a 7-footer that can defend, be disruptive, knock down threes is humongous. Could be a very impactful player. But I think we're beyond him being like this unicorn starter that just like was a steal in the draft.
Untapped potential. I agree.
Yeah, we're beyond that.
I think the first thing I saw reading this is to your guys' point. It's just kind of like sad because I know if I were to read this headline, I would still just be a little bit torn because there would just be that little part of me that's like, well, he's performing well again in the G League. What if he did get another shot? You know what I mean? I would rather him just flame out in glory, in his Poku glory, behind the back, out of bounds passes, than to see him, get relegated down to the G League and to show us just a few more glimmers of hope. Just don't let me down easy. It's time to just cut the ties.
All right, let's go with another negative headline. Thunder make trade deadline trade. Look to solidify their worst record in the league for Victor Wembanyama sweepstakes.
I don't think that happens.
Nick, that's not the point of the exercise.
I know. That's I'm saying this because
False.
Nick just pulled a fake news on my
no,
ass.
no,
But
no.
that's why I think that we were
Nick's like,
also
we-
hesitant to say
exactly,
something.
exactly.
Like,
We
I don't
were-
think it feels realistic.
We were all silent, and I had to give that carrot because we're all sitting here thinking, "What the hell is this scenario?" 'Cause if this happens, and again, I don't think it does happen because the bottom 3 teams have the 14% chance. And I guess in this hypothetical, maybe they were like the 4th best odds, and this gets them to 3rd. But like, there's so much that happens between the trade deadline and the end of the season that I don't think you like. What trade makes you worse, but also makes your future better?
Oh, I've
Does
got
that,
one.
if that makes sense.
Thunder make a trade, so therefore this would have to be obviously before the trade deadline, and that
Yeah.
means that Shea's. I mean, I made a joke about this earlier, and I've joked.
Are you saying Shea's getting traded in this scenario?
I'm saying he requests a trade, so you trade him, you capitalize off of it, you get future picks, maybe some younger assets, and you're there for it. A better
You
spot
ready-
for
you
Wembanyama.
ready for a take?
Yeah. Well,
You ready for a take?
yeah, sure.
If I'm Sam Presti and Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, who has not yet been an All-Star or an
Has
All-NBA player,
Another 5
and
years
has
on his contract.
5 years with no player option, comes to me and says, I want to trade, I'm going to say, okay, go back to the bench. Like, I'm not trading him.
No.
We like to bitch a bunch about how players run the league and they can force their way out of anything. It's like 5 players that can do that realistically, right? Like if Pascal Siakam said, I demand Siakam, Pascal Siakam demanded a trade right now, the Raptors can just tell him to shut the hell up,
Yeah. If Scottie Pippen can't even do it, Shay's not gonna do it.
Well, shit, KD's doing it, and they can't find.
Yeah.
You
Great
not
point.
only do you have to request the trade, the team has to find a trade they're willing to do. And if that's not a possibility, you got to say, "Well, I'm back."
Yeah, and
Takes
the
two to
argument
tango.
the argument against like, oh, you're not going to trade him when he demanded a trade. He's going to sit out. You know what Sam Presti's going to say? Please,
Okay. Yeah.
sit out and let my ass tank for the rest of the
So
year.
here's the headline: Shai Gilgeous-Alexander demands trade. Presti says sit. Thunder get worst record. Draft Victor Wembanyama, and then they trade him.
Shea withdraws trade request.
All right, let's shift to a more positive headline.
That one got turbulent for a second.
I like it. Headline: Thunder beat Timberwolves to take 2-1 series lead.
Oh,
That's happening in the second round.
2025.
That's
NBA
happening in the
playoffs.
second round somewhere.
No, this is a headline for next year,
Yeah.
Taylor, not 2025, you bastard.
Oh, boy.
That's happening in the second round, and I'm assuming that either Rudy Gobert has been played off the floor once again, or Cat is just getting dunked on every other play.
And I would also say, to tie this back to an earlier headline that we did, if we read this headline next, what would that be? April. Then we also read a headline earlier in the season that the OKC Thunder trade picks and players at deadline to capitalize on successful season.
if this is a headline, we are podcasting around that time, talking about whether or not Chet deserves All-NBA.
I like that. That's actually probably very accurate.
If they're in the playoffs and they're at a 2-1 series lead, barring the crazy trade like Taylor talked about, like Shea can only get so much better.
Even with the crazy trade, I think you're
Yeah,
you're
like
right.
Shea could average 38 and 7, and that's incredible. But it's not like that's 6 points a game better, a couple assists, a couple boards. Like that doesn't make the Thunder a playoff team, right? If Shea goes off like that, this would be a Chet or a Josh popping off if they got this far.
It also makes me wonder if there would be like some sort of players union issue where you have a lot of rookies playing just to get their names out there, and or how many other players in the West got hurt that year just because, like, with what the Wolves are gonna walk into this year, the Timberwolves with Ant, then you have the two big guys down low, like they're gonna
And D'Lo.
yeah, and D'Lo, you're gonna
Jaden
have
McDaniels.
a possible top 5 seed, yeah. And so, I mean, like, OKC would really have to markedly improve, or like to Taylor's point, have made a substantial trade with a successful season or something, because that's going to be a tough team. That's going to be a tough team for OKC in general, considering who their front court is and who OKC's front court will be this year.
I thought of another.
Oh, go ahead, Taylor.
I thought of another thought that I thought was going to be clever. That the Thunder beat the Timberwolves to take a 2-1 series lead. ... in the NBA midseason tournament, but those won't be series, so it wasn't as clever as I thought.
So this is a headline. This is a real headline. We've kind of already broken this one down a little bit, but you click on the article, you click the headline, you open it up, you start to read. It's a playoff series. So what are the seeds? What seed are the Timberwolves and what seed are the Thunder?
I feel like the Timberwolves would be up there, maybe a playing game.
It'd be
A playing game isn't a series, Taylor.
It'd have to be
Good
either
point.
4-5 or second round, which seems even more unrealistic. So I'm gonna go 4-5. Thunder at 5.
That's tough.
I don't think the Timberwolves are good enough to be 3. 6-3 would be like obviously more realistic for the Thunder, but Warriors are still good. Suns
It would
are
have
still
to be
good,
4 or 5.
but yeah,
You don't think the Wolves can get any higher than 4?
I think the Nuggets will be 3 this year.
Who do you think's 1 and 2?
Suns, Warriors.
What are the Clippers figuring?
I worry
all this,
about
Nick?
the Suns.
Yeah, like
think
that's
I-
the thing. There's so many. I think there's so many good teams in the West, and that's part of the issue with this. And I also think there are teams in the West that have been playing together for a while, like the Nugs, like the Dubs, like Phoenix now, that have elite chemistry along with their elite play.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to be way too much for a new, Timberwolves team to overcome, especially once they're still figuring out roles once Rudy gets there. And so, of course, you're adding one major piece, but you exported out several other things too.
On the Clippers side, Jacob, I think they're smart enough to only play Kawhi and PG like 60, 65 games.
That's true.
Fully knowing if you get in the playoffs and you're healthy, screw the regular season record, screw the home court advantage.
Yeah,
You
that's
should be
true.
good enough.
Kind of
That's
payday Reggie Jackson going to get from the Clippers from like basically carrying that team for the last however many seasons.
That is true. He's getting old though, isn't he? Isn't he like
Yeah.
He is getting
32, 33 now?
He
something like that?
rocks the rec specs Kamir needs to buy.
Yeah,
glasses
so Kumar
aren't
doesn't have
falling
to
off,
shoot
making
layups
layups.
with his
Yeah,
glasses
yeah.
in his other hand.
Palmer,
Hey,
glasses don't go flying.
I was one-handed down the court and it would just sort of flip off the glass because I was holding my glasses in my other hand.
But he still made it.
That's true.
Dang it.
Goggles
got-
will solve that problem.
2 more Thunder-themed headlines. Both of them are related to individuals, so let's try to move a little bit quicker through these so we can get to the NBA ones. First one, Chet Holmgren notches triple-double with points, rebounds, blocks.
The first sentence of the story is Chet Holmgren explodes against Houston Rockets and Jabari
I
Smith
knew
Jr.
that was coming. I knew it. I love it. Houston has all the players that would love to challenge Chet at the rim
Yes.
and get their shit thrown.
Yes.
That's a good point.
Give it to
Throwing
me.
back down.
He's going to block Tari Eason 5 times.
He is gonna. This is where I'm gonna start getting emotional. He is gonna make Şengün look like a little boy.
Chet's not the only one about to explode.
Lord have mercy.
Oh my gosh.
Holy cannoli.
Holy, we got
But seriously, the Houston Rockets are the team this happens against, just because they've got a bunch of guys that want to be the guy and are going to try to ISO ball, get to the rim. Chet's they're gonna do a dribble handoff or a pick, and Chet's gonna be on a guard, and they're gonna be like, "Oh, I'm gonna cook on Chet." He's gonna get their shit blocked. It's the Houston Rockets, and he doesn't only get 10 blocks; he gets 11.
I also think this is going to
Had
happen.
one for good measure.
But I think my first thought when I read this was that we're going to be tracking this like we did Giddy's triple-double rookie record throughout like it might have been right around All-Star break also. Time is kind of blurring together here, but I think we'll be following it pretty closely because I think he's going to flirt with it a couple different times. Sorry, Kamir.
Yeah, no, I agree. I was gonna say counter to Nick's point earlier about something that completely doesn't happen, which we all agreed wasn't going to happen. I think this is entirely very possible that this does happen. Could happen. I feel like maybe against the Spurs, of course. The Rockets are just like drafting dudes that want to go to the rim or guys that play back to the rim. And just go at the rim and rim run. But I mean, maybe even what other horrible teams in the East could he do this to? But I think he'll get close several times, and I think it actually maybe does happen once. Like he got close. He's been close a lot of times already in Summer League, but it's Summer League.
Matt Clarkson in the chat says, how many times? Which makes me think of the James Franco meme. First time?
Yeah, I would say maybe like, no, probably only once, twice.
That's what I think too.
Once,
Yeah.
twice, nothing.
He might have more than one triple-double, but I agree with blocks and rebound.
Last Thunder-related one for the headlines. It reads, Josh Giddey matches rookie season triple-double total 1 week before Christmas. He had 4 last year, so this is assuming he gets 4 by Christmas time.
That's tough. There's where All-Star break, I'd be all in. I'm a little more hesitant because it's Christmas.
I say that Mark Daignault and Sam Presti have very clearly articulated how this team is going to be run, knowing what they have in Josh, and they are very clear who they are going to run the offense through. And I think that was one thing that KD actually mentioned that kind of course, he mentioned a lot of things. But one thing that we all knew that didn't really become public, but he was pissed when they took the ball out of his hands and put it into Russ's hands with Billy Donovan. And so I would say they're running the offense fully through Josh Giddey if that's the case.
I think that's fair. That's where he would get the assist from.
Yeah, and if my memory serves me correctly, most, if not all, those triple doubles were with Shea off the floor. Yeah,
I think that's accurate.
Yeah.
makes it real hard to imagine he breaks it this year unless Shea's
Especially
out.
that the chemistry in him and Chet wanting to link up prior to, besides all that fact, so they already have that chemistry.
I mean, I think Chet's a free 3 assists for Giddey per night.
Should be.
And with
know,
Shea, too.
really should
we
be.
talked about that lob.
I mean,
threat that
how
we
many
wanted all
times
last
did
season.
we talk last year about having a consistent pick and pop threat or a guy that can just roll and catch a lob would get so many easy assists for Chet and Shea?
Exactly.
Here they are. I think if Josh has 4 triple doubles before Christmas time, we're in a good spot. Like, this team is
Good spot in terms of record or good spot in terms of Victor?
in terms of record. Like, I think they're
Okay.
playing very well and probably flirting with 500.
Is that what you want?
I just want to let these
I'm on
guys go.
team. Let them play.
Exactly.
And let's see where the cards fall around
and
February.
then, yeah, I agree. And if it's not great,
And then we'll choose to shit or get off the pot at that point.
agree.
Let's move to some league-wide headlines as we close out the episode tonight, guys. Just so the listeners know, JD Silva, absolute goon. He threw in a bunch of headlines I didn't know he threw in here. So let's start with one of the first ones.
Oh,
from
so
JD.
I didn't know these
teacher
were
over
his.
here
These
is
are great.
teacher over here is not checking his materials before he passes them out to the student.
Just
So
winging it.
appreciate that one.
Yeah, JD's the class clown. First league-wide headline: Kyrie Irving seen levitating across Brooklyn Bridge.
Good
It's like
grief.
some Chris Angel
Terrell
mind freak
Sage
stuff. Like,
just-
what is this? What's going
Yes.
on?
Dude, I have no clue. I have
This is the title of the new Game of Zones episode.
Yes. There you go.
Okay,
Hey,
yeah.
I like
I'm,
that.
I'm going with Nick on that one. I have nothing to say about Kyrie Irving, not because I don't like him, just because that's just a very odd headline.
It very much is. I love this next one. Headline reads: Anthony Davis, Donovan Mitchell, and Jalen Brunson escape play-in tournament, land 6th seed for Knicks.
Bruh.
boy.
Bruh.
AD on the Knicks, too.
Ooh,
Oh, man. Oh, that was.
grief.
I'm trying
Surely
to think
that
what
team would
an
be
AD
better
to the
than-
Knicks trade would look like.
Surely they'd be better than a 6 seed.
I like how
Surely.
that's where
If
Nick's mind
AD's
goes immediately.
I don't know. Anthony Davis has made a Anthony Data Davis, right? The
But
man
if
has
he's
made a
playing
playing
glass.
the
Exactly.
top 5 player in the world,
Maybe he's
If
not
healthy.
playing. That's why he gets traded.
Jesus, he tears
That's
his
true.
ACL. and the
Julius
Knicks take
Randle
him
and a
on.
first-round pick for AD.
Oh,
Yeah, I'm
so
guessing. I'm
great.
guessing it's Anthony Davis coming off an injury or Donovan Mitchell coming off an injury. We're not counting Jalen Brunson here.
Yeah, Jalen Brunson.
Jalen Brunson catching strays on the Uncontested
He's
podcast.
not a star.
Like he can get buckets, but he's not it.
he's not it. I totally agree.
Not him.
He's like a 3rd or 4th option.
Scale of 1 to 10. How mind blown would you be if this was an actual headline?
I'd be out 9.
That Donovan Mitchell and Anthony Davis end up. Anthony Davis, he's a clutch client.
Yeah.
He's going to play in LA. He's not going to go out to New York.
The
but
Knicks aren't going to have picks to trade for AD when they're done with Donovan.
That's true.
Yeah,
I
I would
don't know.
say
I just threw it in there because I thought it was fun.
I would say we had a really odd trade season or lack thereof, and it was just like a one-off.
Another one. Headline reads: The West leading Pelicans get 3 NBA All-Stars.
Oh boy, Zion,
So,
welcome
Zion.
to the league.
Yeah.
Zion Ingram
CJ.
and CJ. Yeah.
CJ. I
I'd
mean,
I'd say who got hurt in the NBA this season again.
Yeah. That's a good point. Like CJ would have to get in probably, or maybe Brandon BI would get in due to reserve status or fan vote.
uh-uh.
But
I
that's not going to
think-
happen. And
I think this would be a scenario where the Pelicans make a trade.
Or if they made a trade, wouldn't one of those guys have to? Oh, maybe. Okay, maybe they do trade like a Bi.
Yeah.
I
And
could
Kevin
buy
bring in a
Durant,
Kevin Durant.
Zion.
I could buy with that.
CJ.
Yeah,
Hey,
I see where
think-
you're
I
going.
still don't know. If
I
CJ's
think
Nick is
KD
galaxy
to
branding us right now. That's
yeah,
good
I think
stuff.
KD to New Orleans makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
It does make a lot of sense.
New Orleans has a shit ton of picks. They're all Lakers picks.
Yeah.
Those could be anything.
And Bi is a hell of a player, and he's still
He's
young.
really good. Bi, Herb Jones, Dyson Daniels, Trey Murphy,
a great
and
package.
the Lakers picks
Great package.
for Kevin Durant.
Back to our Thunder headline. Nick's hypothetical about OG that he just threw out there. We said Jaylen Brown. What about Bi? Bi, Shea, Giddey, Chet.
Bi would
How'd you get Bi back to OKC from all that?
I guess Brooklyn just really wants every single pick they can possibly get their hands on,
Jeez.
and not a max contract player. I don't think they can trade for Bi, can they?
Why?
Oh, that's a good point too.
Because they have
Ben
Ben
Simmons.
Simmons on the rookie max extension.
Oh.
That Ben Simmons thing is going to screw them.
That's
That
maybe
might be-
maybe they're willing to dump Ben for cheaper than he's worth because of it.
We know the Nets have a history of just like horrible decisions.
This is true. Bobby Marks isn't there anymore though, so maybe they've cleaned it up.
Curse is still there.
Next headline: rumors. Zach LaVine, DeMar DeRozan available at deadline after Vucevic trade.
Clutch points at it again.
I like how random media outlets are just catching strays from us this episode.
No, this is actually this is Hoop Central.
Yeah.
Oh,
This is
God
a
damn.
They've
Legion's
aggregated a Sirius XM radio stream where they messed up one of the players' names and
They aggregated Jake Fisher on the call-in app.
Yeah, seriously. That would be something. Like the Bulls would be blowing it up, yeah?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I was like, what went horribly wrong this season?
Exactly.
That would have to be. I mean, DeMar, it's gonna be really freaking hard for him to put together the season he had last year. Like I think
last year was a career year for him.
He is likely going to be worse. That doesn't make him a bad player, but I think it's unrealistic to expect him to be as good again. LaVine,
It's going to be an interesting give and take with them because DeMar was so clutch last year. It was like that Russ season where he won MVP, right?
Yeah.
He's got to come back down. Like he's got to come off that high. But at the same time, you're bringing Patrick Williams back into the mold, who I think is really freaking good.
I'd trade a lot for Patrick Williams. So this headline is a thing because they're having a bad season. And Zach LaVine flat out says, I am not signing here long term.
Fair. I'm seeing more JD Silva headlines that I didn't know were in here. All right, let's move on to this next one. Again, this is a JD one, so you guys can find him on Twitter at JD_Silva_JD Silva. I forget what his exact at is. Headline: Anthony Davis after Lakers December win in Toronto. Quote, my bones hurt.
Dude, I read that and I was just like, I can't.
My bones hurt.
Why does this even exist? Oh my God. This is what we get for having a God
next
tier
one's
shit
even
poster on
better.
our podcast.
The next one's even better. My favorite part is that Jacob hasn't seen these yet because we get his live reaction too.
Jake didn't look. And he trusted
Oh,
so well with everything.
I thought he just left the ones that we created. I didn't know he went back in while at dinner with his dad.
And we're just like ripping him off live. Like you didn't take 5 seconds before we started the podcast to double
not
check.
at all.
Amazing.
I didn't even think.
My bones hurt.
Nick, how would you react to this headline? Nick hasn't said shit about this entire part. The three of us are about to pee ourselves, and Nick is just chilling.
My bones hurt. That might be a real quote. That dude is always hurt.
AD, what's it like to play through these injuries and the grind of the February?
Like that
NBA?
actually could be like one of those funny quotes, or like he's getting a he's
Yeah.
like, man, my bones hurt. Like that could be a real thing.
Oh, look how positive you guys are being.
Is this before or after he tells us he took 3 weeks off during the season and didn't shoot
Yeah.
basketball?
Oh, I mean,
Sheesh.
come here. We can go dark here if we need to.
No, I'm good.
Any other thoughts on this headline?
No.
All
That was
right.
funny.
Next one. Jonathan Isaac to miss 1 to 2 weeks due to launch of new book.
Jesus. Jacob Niffen misses 1 to 2 weeks of podcasting to wait in line to get books signed.
Gotta go to CPAC to get that.
Jeez.
Oh,
I
man.
mean, it sounds like I would say sounds like Jonathan Isaac lately. I mean, like that's about it.
Yeah. Got the midterms in November. Maybe it
If
happens
if
around
the
that.
Thunder traded for him, Jacob, could you cheer for him?
No. There's a handful of guys that if they traded for, I couldn't just not get behind.
We said the same thing about Chris Paul for different reasons.
That's true. Very different reasons. I used to be very anti Chris Paul. I changed my tune.
If John Isaac comes in, gets traded to the Thunder, and averages like 22, 10, and 6, I think you might
And
change
like
your
keeps
tune.
his mouth shut.
That's what I.
You know the
that's-
meme
yeah.
of the stick man with the smiling face mask over his crying face? That would be me.
Yeah, like it's like one of those things where you don't necessarily agree with certain things, but once they start putting on the show, when the lights are on, you stop necessarily caring so much about those things. And I feel like that's exactly what would happen.
He'd fit in with other Oklahomans, that's for sure. Last headline. Lillard scores 45 and 110-108 win over the Houston Rockets.
I would say that seems very realistic, but at the same time,
Does that make you worry about Portland?
what? Yeah, I was about to say, why are the Rockets competing with the Trailblazers that much? That's what I would be thinking. But of course, you could say the same for OKC last year.
Yeah, stuff
they're not
happens.
supposed to be good.
Yeah,
that
Stuff
happens.
Think about
about the
the years that
Trailblazers.
Oklahoma City was a good team, and we were all fighting for them to make the playoffs and
Yeah.
be a top seed, and they lose to the freaking bottom of the barrel team because they didn't show up.
Yeah.
Yep.
This
For what
will-
it's worth, I think Portland's a play-in team.
really.
Is that hot?
I don't
You know-
disagree with you. I want you to elaborate a little
No,
bit.
I don't think it's.
I think there's better teams than them.
I keep forgetting about
wow.
Portland.
Golden
you.
State,
Wow.
Golden State, the
I think-
Clippers, the Nuggets, Phoenix. We're at 4. Minnesota is 5.
Did you say the Dubs?
Yeah,
I think the Thunder are
Minnesota-
going to be bad because there's not many teams they're worse than.
Exactly.
yeah.
That was my
Minnesota
first thought too,
5.
Nick.
New Orleans, I think, is only getting better. I still don't know if Shaden Sharp is a real person. That's
You
like
saw
a-
him. You saw him in person.
for 3 minutes. That could have been a hologram. So we're already at 7 for Portland.
Birds aren't real.
Yeah, they're just government drones. Why do you think we had a shutdown back in 2020, Nick? They had to
I
replace the
think-
batteries.
I think you're warming up to Jonathan Isaac right now.
Hey.
Yeah, no kidding.
There we
You were in
That's
that
what
red
the
hat.
book's about.
What is that? What, is your,
Birds?
what does your
Question
hat
mark?
say, Jacob?
It says Summer League. Leave me alone.
It's a red hat.
That's what Jonathan Isaac's book
Maroon.
is called. Birds? Question mark.
Birds.
They're just drones.
Bird, plane, drones.
Superman.
All right. What was your guys' favorite headline?
My favorite headline was Anthony Davis says my bones hurt.
Let me ask you this. Of all the headlines we went over, which one do you think has the best chance of coming to fruition, of being an actual thing?
Darius Baisley scores 9
I-
points off his bench in
Bench.
LA Lakers debut.
Interesting.
I'd say between that and 2 players on our rookie team.
Oh, that's a positive one.
I feel like that feels fair.
Like
you,
there's a real chance that happens.
you guys know where my heart lies. You know how I feel.
And the Lillard one too.
Are you singing a song?
No, I'm just telling you.
I'm
You
pretty
guys,
sure it's a song.
my
Yeah.
heart will go on.
I'm pretty sure
No.
that's like a Seal song or something.
That is a song.
Alexei Pokashevsky triple-double in the G League. I feel like that one doesn't have a 0% chance. Like, of all of these ones, it definitely goes in the top half of most realistic.
Yeah,
And I love Poku.
I think Lillard 45, 110, 108 seems very realistic because I don't think the Trailblazers will be much better, and I think the Rockets. I mean, like, and also just things happen. I think that's very realistic just because it's the NBA. So we got the ones between me and Nick, and then which one did you? And Alexei Pokashevsky triple-double in the G League.
I don't know. I feel like the Chet Holmgren one and the Josh Giddey one are like realistic.
I think it's possible with Chet. And if it's Josh Giddey, the offense has to be going through him. I think we all agreed on that, yeah?
Yeah, and they can't be 29th in offense in the league.
Yeah. That means they're finishing plays.
Mm-hmm. And they got play finishers in the draft this year.
It is kind of funny that the Giddey and Holmgren triple-double related headlines are the ones that us Thunder fans find most realistic.
True. Taylor, of all of them, which one do you think is the most realistic one?
I'm going to go with Giddey matches the triple-doubles 1 week before Christmas. With, like I said, Chet getting the triple-double with blocks being a close second.
That's 2 months. 2 months to get 4 triple-doubles. That's about the time he got his 4 last year, right? In about 2 months?
That's a good point. And there's more talent around him. We talked about Chet getting him more assist opportunities, maybe less rebounds, but
honestly, from a least realistic standpoint, I think there's a better chance that Kyrie Irving levitates across the Brooklyn Bridge than the Thunder trade picks and players at the deadline.
That's a good point.
Yeah. If the flat earth, I mean, if that's true, it's possible, you know?
What's the headline? They trade picks and players to get better specifically?
The headline was OKC Thunder trade picks and players at deadline to capitalize on successful season.
Okay, so there's a world where they could trade picks and players to capitalize on getting worse.
Oh, success as a subjective term.
If let's throw a name out there.
Why would they do that?
If a young star tears his ACL and the Thunder trade players and picks for that guy who will not be playing for them, they're trading players and picks for a successful tanking season for Victor. So you ultimately get a young star and Victor for those players and picks.
And who's that young player, Nick? JD is now.
We're not doing this again. I can't give a whole thing and you say who's that player, and then it doesn't match up with my timeline.
Yeah, Jake is like interrogating us. What's next? Waterboarding? Like
OG
is
actually a guy. There's a lot of guys I would trade for if they tore their ACL. OG might not be because it's an injury history.
Yeah.
Might not do that. JD Silva. Fellas.
He's been doing it with the deeper voice lately.
Yeah, I think each episode his goal is to get deeper and deeper and deeper.
Fellas.
Like
God.
fellas.
Hey, you guys can order Uncontested hats. They're up for one more week. Hit that Google form. It's here in the YouTube chat. It's also all over social media. Silva says that waterboarded him in Vegas. Maybe that's why he ate all of Nick's fries. Who knows?
I thought he saw people zip line.
Jesus Christ.
It was Kyrie levitating.
We will be back with you guys Wednesday night for another pod, 8 p.m. Central Time, right here live on YouTube. Join us. If any news breaks or any of us just get bored one evening, we'll hop on a Twitter space, but we do not have any scheduled right now. So follow us on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram. We'll chat with you guys soon. Until then, and as always, Thunder up.